Hello. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing some figure drawing. I'm thinking, I have a couple goals. I want to try and do a couple dynamic poses and try and get rid of some of the stiffness in a lot of my figures. I have done some warm-ups already. Can't come into this stiff, so there was a little bit of warm-ups on this page, and then some more warm-ups over here. More warm-ups, and so we're actually gonna start fresh right here. And I unfortunately don't have enough space, so I gotta turn it horizontally. So as far as reference goes, we're actually gonna be using some reference from the artist Mark Brunette from his ArtStation. He has a lot of really awesome dynamic poses on there, and I'm gonna try and not copy them, but capture a few of them that I really like. This is my little kit. So I think today we're gonna go with a red pencil because I was using it earlier. It was actually really fun to do, though I can't erase it. So that's, that's one thing. And then I might do a little bit in this mechanical pencil. And if I do that, I need this media eraser. Here we go. And this mechanical pencil is really cool. It's Pentel and it's 0.5 lead. So it's really thin. I don't know if you can see that, but it's super thin. But for now, we're just gonna go for it and pick a few of these. First, I'm just gonna try and capture the gesture a little bit. And I actually haven't drawn with this red colored pencil. This is a Prismacolor. So let's got shoulders. I'm gonna do something like this. Something like that. And there's actually in this particular pose, there is a kind of almost like a spear or a pole of some sort she's got. So let me go with that. These are probably not going to be very good, or at least not going to be perfect. I am trying out a couple new styles, or at least trying to capture a few other things. Like I really like, I don't know if anyone's seen Mark Brunette's stuff. He has a YouTube channel as well. And I really like all the stuff he does. This is actually wrong. This is gonna go, it's gonna almost curve this way, and then immediately kind of do like this thing. So. You got to keep in mind when drawing hips that get the perspective. So like for instance, the shoulders, you have this line right here that goes almost to a vanishing point back in this direction over here. And the same is going to hold true to the hips. I say as I completely miss the mark. They're gonna have a different vanishing point, and I don't quite understand which, but I do know that this hip is lower than this one. Because of that, this is gonna be taller, like this. It's gonna almost go down here. And because the torso is kind of bending, there's going to be a bit of a fold. And then the breasts are going to kind of, if this is the pectorals, which everybody has, then the breasts are going to fall just a little bit underneath. So this arm is going to be the shoulder. And then that is not at all what I was going for. However, it's going to have to work. We're going to do a few of these, so not all of them can be perfect, and I can't go back because this is a colored pencil. Let's see here. Shoulder, it's going to go here because the bicep goes underneath. Shoulder from the front. And then you're going to see a little bit of the top pectoral there. But then once it gets down, this part is going to be generally going to be covered up by the rest. And same thing with this side. However, since this one's facing towards us almost, you're not gonna see the full thing, just the shadow. Think about it as if you're drawing just the shadow. Something like that. I mean, you can draw the full thing if you want, but usually it'd be best to fill in the rest of the form with some type of shadow when you're rendering it. You got whatever this thing's called, where the collarbone is. Just gonna connect over here. And this is not anywhere near perfect, however. I am a little bit happier with it than I was a few minutes ago. For instance, this leg is not at all how it should be. I mean, maybe if I do like a little bit of this, like that maybe, that does make for an interesting shape. I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, it could be better, but I like it. And then I am absolutely terrible at faces, so we're gonna go very simple. Got nose, just gonna do the shadow. I think we're gonna do a light source coming from this direction. So we're gonna do something like this. And I'm sure anybody watching, most of you will probably understand some semblance of light and shadow, but at the very least, what we're doing right here, excuse me, what we're doing here is just, we've decided that a light source is coming from this direction, and so we're shading it as if, very simple shading, as if, say, like, this is just this upper part of the pectoral, it's just a rounded plane. So you would have the darkest part right here, and then you don't have a hard edge. So it would be rounded slightly. And then same thing over here, the bicep is a rounded form. Most of this arm is gonna be in light. But right here, this part right here is not gonna be in light. So that's gonna be shaded. The breast is almost like not really a sphere, but a spherical shape. So you would round out the part that is in a shadow. So you'd have a core shadow right here, and then the darkest part would be in the crease of the breast. And then this part of the form, because the torso's turning, is also going to be cool, or going to be in shadow. And that's where you can kind of have fun with it, because you can kind of make interesting shadow shapes. It doesn't all have to be, I don't particularly like what I do with the leg here, but since we already did it, we can we can make this into a singular shape, and it works well for what it is. And then I'll go ahead and something about this. Now, I'm talking about the face. I'm personally not very good at faces, so I'm not going to give any examples or tips really, but I like to, at the moment, define the shadow forms instead of just drawing on the sorry, I'm focusing. You don't even have to really define the face. You can leave it up to imagination at that point. But that's one dynamic pose. Not done perfectly, but I like it. So we're gonna go on to the next one. What's another good one? We got, this is a good one. This is a really tough one actually, so we're gonna try it out. We got head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. I'm gonna do something like this. And what we're doing here is just trying our best to capture the gesture, the line of action of the pose. You know, you really just got to do simple information, like where does the torso go? Try and capture the movement. In this case, the leg comes up here and does a sweeping motion like she's going in for a kick. And again, I'm getting these poses from, I'm using Mark Brunette. He has a lot of poses on his ArtStation, which is a website where you can get a lot of reference material from. In this case, I know the knees can go over here. Ooh, I wish I had an eraser, but sometimes you just kind of gotta go with it. And a good thing to keep in mind, and I'm not doing a great job of planning ahead, but if you're gonna plan out poses, Try and keep in mind the balance. I didn't really do a good job here. Well, I guess it semi works. The reason why I didn't like where the leg was on this one is because this person would be falling over right now, 100%. Generally, you want to keep, say this is the head, you want the whatever supporting foot, if they're supporting themselves mainly on one, it really needs to be below their center of gravity, which this one's kind of there. This one, not so much. I would need to, if the head's gonna be here, I'd want the leg to be a little bit more straight. And take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because it's just from a lot of time. It's not from any professional anything, but I still think it has some merit. We're gonna do a classic mitten hand because I'm just trying to capture the pose. And definitely not because I don't know how to draw that hand. Okay, we got pectoral, and then the breasts will sit below the pectoral, so they're going to be attached. So in this case, we're going to have, and depending on the size will depend on how much lower. In this case, I just want a little bit, even though I kind of went a little bit lower than I intended. And then if I wanted to take this pose and really try and commit it to memory, I would probably try and reconstruct it. So like over here in a smaller form, you have the torso. I'm just gonna bend this way. Something like that, something really quick and easy. Just focusing on the simple forms, not really focusing too heavily on accuracy. If you can rebuild a pose like this, then you can rebuild it anywhere. That's really what you want to do, is commit it to memory, like that. So now, and then you could take it and you could make it your own. Yeah. So that is kind of today's sketching practice. Doing a little bit of study with some poses. Thank you for joining me, and well, was it cut off the whole time? I hope not. I really hope that, oh shoot. I got sketching brain. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to try. I really like this pencil. All right. Well, thanks for watching.